part of the story. So this is 61 years later. This is our family history. And it leads into a question of, what do you do with your family secrets? I know I'm not going to try to be a reporter and ask you about this, but there are some lessons to be learned, I believe, in the Don Reynolds story. There are questions of family secrets. There are questions of whistleblowing. Wow. Does anyone know a man named Richard Bowen? Does that ring a bell regarding Citigroup? He was on the 60-Minute show with Steve Croft, and he was, remember the 2008 mortgage crisis, right? When all those mortgages popped? And it was his responsibility to rate mortgage-backed securities. And his bosses at Citi came to him and said, well, we need to have these mortgage-backed securities rated B, B+, A, whatever the case may be. And Richard looked at the mortgages that he saw. He said, I can't do that. These are going to explode. He said, but you need to rate them anyway. So soon he was told that Richard Bowen didn't need to come into the office anymore. So when I was in the process of getting this book out, Richard and I made contact. He says, Bob, I won't be in Dallas when you give your presentation, but your uncle's story has a familiar ring to it. And it was great for me to hear that from him. So we have family secrets. We have whistleblowing. We have the problem of government agencies. Do you know, ladies and gentlemen? I'm sorry I get a little bit emotional. We've been at this thing for a number of years to try to get the documents of the Don Reynolds case, right? I had a professional research historian help me to ask the FBI to declassify all these documents so I could present this to you today. 17,000 pages of FBI documents on Don Reynolds. We have gotten 40 pages of extraneous information after close to 4 years. What does that tell us? I guess you'll have to draw your own conclusions on that. It's tough, but at least, like I say, we're trying on this. So maybe I just want to ask, first of all, how many people in the room have heard of a man named Lyndon Baines Johnson? Please raise your hand. Well, that's decent. How many people have heard of a man named Bill Moyers? Please raise your hand. Heard of a man named Robert Gene Baker or Bobby Baker from South Carolina? Oh, good. How many people have heard of a senator from Delaware named John Williams? Please raise your hand. Okay. Finally, in the room, how many people of you have heard of a man named Don Buck Reynolds? Please raise your hand. Okay. This is our memoir. This is our story of an assassination and what our family went through after that. It was November 22nd, 1963, and I think that in that handout you'll see what was going on. My uncle was in Washington, D.C. Well, he was in Silver Spring, so obviously that was okay. But why was he in D.C. at that time? Why was he in at the Senate office building? I know why he was there. My aunt, that is his wife, says, Don, I don't like the weekend trips to Miami, New York, whatever the case may be, with Bobby Baker. Let's sever our ties with this man. Well, Jerry, no, Don, let's get out of here. Okay, Jerry, I will go see Senator Williams. I will go to the Senate. I'll get out of this. Yeah, do it for me, she says, and do it for your nephew, Bobby. After all, we're the godparents of this boy. So, November 22nd, 1963, Don Reynolds is handing over documents regarding Robert Gene Baker of South Carolina, but more importantly, he's handing over information regarding the sitting Vice President of the United States. He completed the process. By the way, this is in Clark Mauenhof's book, The Spoilers of Democracy. I did want to say, oh, I'm sorry. Is this okay? I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you, sir. So I did want to say that people have heard of Robert Caro, right? Research man. I immensely respect Robert Caro's work, and he went to the J.F.K. library and said, I found it. I found it. No one writes about this. See, there's this guy, Reynolds, and he's testifying at the exact moment of the assassination. Mr. Caro did not find that. He's arguably one of the world's leading historians. But Clark Mauenhof wrote about a full chapter on my uncle on testimony during disaster. Testimony during disaster. I have a copy of that if anybody wishes. But here we are. My uncle gets done with the documents, and everything, he packs up the briefcase. You know, my uncle and his lawyer are ready to move, get out of the room, and all of a sudden a woman screams and bursts in there and says, the president's dead. The president's dead. At first they thought it was a bad joke, but then they saw the woman's tears. You know, you put two and two together. You think, So my uncle grabbed for the documents away from the Senate investigator. Said, you won't need these. I mean, giving information on the Vice President of the United States is one thing, but against the President? Just forget I said anything. Mr. Reynolds, I'm sorry. Those papers are the property of the Senate Rules Committee now. There's nothing you can do about it. My uncle went home that night and said, what have I done? It's one of those things when the stars begin to align and you think, my goodness gracious. So, how did this affect us? Let me give you a little vignette in the story. My mother announced, well, I live near Chicago. Anybody near Chicago area in this thing? Hammond, Gary, East Chicago, Munster. You know that area? I live in Munster today. We lived in Munster when I was growing up. And my mom announced a pleasant surprise that night. She said, your Uncle Buck is coming here. Well, this was like about maybe 5 or 6 days after the assassination. All I knew, I was just a 10-year-old kid, right? So we met him in Hammond, Indiana, and he was rather surreptitious about what was going on. Well, he left, and the result was that I was just a 5th grader at that time. I didn't know what was going on. And then my mom says, Bob, you come back with me tonight from school. It's too cold. I mean, I remember it was blowing and drifting snow that day, typical Indiana winter, right? And my mom and I drove into the garage, and she looked in the rearview mirror, and she said, here they come, Bob. Now, what do you think was here they means? Any idea? FBI? So we got out of the car and faced the 2 agents. The FBI, 2 agents there, they didn't carry guns. They were very polite, and they asked a simple question, saying, well, we're looking for a man named Don Reynolds. And this is where I walked out on the stage here, inadvertently from my mother's. My mother turned the question over to me. She said, oh, we haven't seen him lately, have we, Bob? So I would get to answer the feds. No, we haven't seen him lately. So, see, I'm trying to get the FBI documents declassified so they would actually have my response in there. So this continuing story of Don Reynolds was hitting us all at one time. It became a very personal story. We We have been trying to get these documents released